Hello friends and welcome to Purple Banjo Adventures, where our entire goal is to get you outdoors. In this video we're going to be walking through the setup of our Bushwhacker 10HD, which we rent out, and you can rent that out through the link down in the description. When setting up the Bushwhacker, the first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to level it, and these leveling blocks are under the bed on the right hand side in that storage compartment. You're going to want to use this Lego kind of configuration where they're not stacked up in a straight line, but they're kind of offset to make sure that they lock in together and that they stay where you put them. Now, when I back up on this, I'm going to make a mistake and I'm not going to leave the tire squarely on top of it. You can see I just went a little too far. You do not want to make that mistake. You want to make sure your tire's squarely on top of that. If you want to rearrange those blocks so that two of them are on the top layer, I highly suggest doing that, because you'll see here in a second, you're going to see what that's done to me, what the mistake that has caused. Let's move the camera for a view of the other side, and we'll go ahead and set the wheel chocks. Now, the wheel chocks in this unit we keep hidden in the kitchen area under this hatch. Takes me a second fumbling for the right key, but once I get it, I'm going to unlock both of these T-handles and give them a 180-degree turn. That's going to allow me to lift the hatch and expose the kitchen. Wheel chocks are these yellow things on the bottom here, and what those are going to allow me to do is keep the trailer from rolling back and forth. Now, I pointed out the mistake I made putting it up on those riser blocks on the right side to level it out, and the chocks are unfortunately going to get overrun here in a minute, but ideally you just kick them under the tire, and that should be plenty to hold the trailer in place. Now let's reposition the camera again, and we'll look at dropping the trailer from the hitch on your tow vehicle. First thing I'm going to do is unplug the electrical. There's a little flap you got to lift up. Make sure you do that because the plug does catch on that flap. It's a safety feature. Next, I'm going to unclip the emergency brake cable and then the safety chains. I'm just going to drop those on the ground here. Then I'm going to pull the hitch pin out of the hitch and unlatch it. You do have to muscle it, kind of manhandle it a little bit to get it to release. Next thing I'm going to do is take and run down the trailer jack. This is what's going to lift it up off of the hitch for me, and we're going to fast forward this because nobody wants to sit through and watch me do this in real time. You can see when it gets to the top here, it's going to release that ball hitch, and I kind of get startled by that because the whole trailer slides over. This is because I did not have the tires directly on top of those leveling blocks. This is what I was talking about. This is why you want to make sure and you have those squared right up in the center of those blocks. Since it's already out of the way of the hitch, I'm going to run it down to where the trailer is level and pull the truck up to get it out of our way. Another camera reposition, and we'll take care of the security part of our basic setup on the Bushwhacker. Digging under the same right side underbed storage that I got these leveling blocks out of, I'm going to pull out a nice big padlock and the hitch lock. I'm going to set the camera down so I can have some room to clean up my mess and shut that door, and then we'll move on to installing the hitch lock and that padlock. The hitch lock, there's a key for it on the keychain. You can't see what I'm doing here, sorry about that, but once I get that open, I'm going to put the ball in the hitch and lock it down, and then slide this bail over the top. It'll slide down easy for you. Just pull the keys out and we'll move on to that padlock. Now, with these smaller units, when somebody really wants to seal them, sometimes they'll just take the safety chains, they'll throw them on the truck and they'll take off. Then they can deal with that pesky hitch lock at their leisure. So I just loop one chain through the frame and lock that padlock down. Next, we're going to move over to the left side of the unit. We'll set the camera down, and I'm going to dig under the left side underbed storage to get out the electrical hookup and the water fill hose, as well as the sprayer. But the first thing I'm going to do over here is grab this jack handle so we can go ahead and run the stabilizer jacks down. Now, the important thing to remember about these stabilizer jacks, they are not leveling jacks. They are not built to carry a bunch of weight. They're just built to take the wiggle out of the trailer once you get it set up. So I'm going to slide the jack handle over this jack screw, go ahead and run this foot down just enough to put some tension on the trailer, not enough to actually bear any weight on it. Then we'll move on to the other side and repeat the process. I'll return that jack handle to the underbed storage up here, and I'll go ahead and pull out the electrical connection. This is going to be used anytime you're trying to plug into shore power or maybe run off of a generator. This is the standard 30 amp hookup cable. This is a surge protector and a 20 amp adapter. You always want to use that surge protector anytime you're plugging into one of those pedestals at a campground. The power is notoriously unreliable, and just one good surge could completely kill the electrical system on this unit, and it's really expensive to replace. I'm going to plug that into the side, give it a little eighth of a twist to lock in the plug, and then use that ring to lock that down. What I'm pointing out there, that is the outlet for the furnace. You want to make sure that the cable does not hang in front of that outlet, because it will melt that cable on you, and you don't want to deal with a melted electrical hookup cable. Next, we're going to look at filling up the fresh water. It is fresh water. You can fill up that tank right on the side of it there so that you can use the sprayer in the sink. The important thing to remember is this is not a potable water system. You do not want to drink out of this system. It's for doing things like dishes and spraying off your boots, spraying off the dog before you get inside. It is not something you want to drink out of. Digging back in that underbed storage area, I'm going to grab the sprayer hose for the kitchen. On the output side of this, it's just a standard garden sprayer head. Gives you lots of options. This will allow you to do your dishes, spray off some gear, clean up the dog. And to install that, I'm just going to pop open the hatch on the kitchen and lean in, and it's just a simple push fitting to get that installed. These are the camp chairs we include in the rental, and I'm not going to bore you showing you how to set those up. It's the same ones that everybody uses, or at least the same style, so we're just going to set these off to the side. The only setup item that we have left is to open up the little 2-burner cooktop that is included with this unit. It runs off the propane up front, and we'll get into using that and turning on the propane in the usage video that's coming up next. So be sure and watch that if you have any questions. Our philosophy behind setting up this rental unit was to make it as easy as possible for anyone and everyone to go camping, because our whole goal is to just get you outdoors. Now, if you like any of the equipment you see here, or you've rented it and want to find out how to get a hold of some of this equipment on your own, there's links down to our preferred gear in the description of this video. If you're in or passing through the Sacramento area and need to rent a Teardrop trailer, I'll leave the link to our page down below. And of course, if you have any questions about camping with a small Teardrop, or renting one out, or just renting RVs in general, please feel free to put those into the comments, and I will get back to them as soon as I can. Thanks so much for joining us today, and go have fun outside.